Tube, election day is upon us here in Israel, and here on the Tube we've seen the Israeli side of the internet burning with hefty arguments and swapped with political propaganda. In the next 16 minutes we'll try to touch on a few of the main stories that excited the Israeli web during this campaign. Is the internet the right place for a political campaign? We'll soon see. Let's vote. With me in the studio is journalist and columnist Yehuda Uriel and our very own political analyst Tal Shalev. Thank you for joining us, and let me start with a rough question. Which web campaign do you think is the most successful one? Which one did you like the most?
Well, I'm going to say an unpopular answer. I think the babysitter campaign was the best. It was viral. The results were amazing. So I think that was the best one. And just to show the Israeli Prime Minister with an unusual face of acting and it just a sense of humor, one that we have never seen before, I think that was a bit refreshing to the campaign. Okay, so the refreshing value worked for Tal. What about you?
I think by far the most important and successful was V15's campaign, not only reflecting what many Israelis feel and Netanyahu's time, but also in hiding a little bit Herzog and Livni, which are very gray-looking candidates. So V15 was, for me, the best campaign.
Which is exactly our next topic. The biggest phenomenon of these elections, at least on the web, was a wide-ranging campaign to replace and dethrone Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, sponsored and mobilized by non-partisan organizations funded mostly by foreign billionaires. Above them all was an organization called V15, blamed by Netanyahu's party for illegal election funding. An Israeli court found no wrongdoing and the complaint was pulled. Here's one of their many viral videos.
תודה. שלום.
So Tal, is it legit what's going on there? And if it is, why does it feel kind of wrong?
Well, it feels kind of wrong because this is not the typical grassroots campaign, just a few creators or a few artists that decided to launch a viral social media campaign. This is massively funded by U.S. donors, and they have not only funded V15, but at the same time, this group of donors has funded other groups that have been calling to replace Netanyahu. So that has been Netanyahu's main claim. As you mentioned, the Israeli legal system did not find anything illegal about it, but Netanyahu, or at least supposedly Netanyahu, succeeded to pass the ball over to the United States, where there will be a Senate probe commission into the funding by the State Department of One Voice, which is a group that is affiliated with V15. But in any case, it did expose maybe Netanyahu's campaign, this campaign against an international conspiracy to replace him. In many ways, it did expose also Netanyahu's hypocrisy, because he himself is funded by Sheldon Adelson, the American millionaire. So the claims, what is wrong and what is right, should probably need a new examination after these elections.
I agree, but still, Yehuda, isn't it a bit of a dirty trick, because it's obvious that these organizations support Herzog, doesn't it?
Probably, yes. You're probably right, and it's probably dirty, but as Tal said, it was the first time that Netanyahu tasted something of his own poison. Mm-hmm. Sheldon Adelson and the Israel Hayom newspaper, which is a propaganda for Netanyahu for many years. I'm sure the Israeli legislator will have to find some new answer to this. A lot of American money that being spent over Israeli elections.
Because I can imagine a very convenient future where everybody will look for non-partisan supporters for the campaigns.
Exactly. Why don't we just create a nonpartisan group, bring a donor, and then we can swamp social media with something that will become viral and create an uproar on social media? Exactly. That's a danger. But there's also another danger here regarding exactly the funding question. And the funding on the internet is much easier to bypass. Traditionally, there wasn't this, we didn't have this tool. Traditionally, there was only TV propaganda, very institutional propaganda. But today, when you have Facebook and you have YouTube, it's very hard to control. So the legislator will have to giving some answers to that.
And where there's lots of money, you can have, good-looking, wise videos, which is also lovely. Let's move on. Early in this campaign, a few very extreme videos popped up into the public sphere, demonizing the left wing and comparing it to Hamas, ISIS, and assistance of European anti-Semites. Here's the absolute worst of them.
Herr Stürmer!
Yes?
The shoe is here.
Let him in.
בדיוק מה שביקשת.
Good.
מה עכשיו?
תשיג לי משהו על ילדים.
Herr Stürmer!
Ja.
The shoe is here.
Let him in.
בדיוק מה שביקשת.
Good.
מה עכשיו?
תשיג לי משהו על צה"ל.
Yeah, okay. It seems, at least from the polls, that this sort of campaign going against the left-wing people as traitors failed. Didn't really work, backfired even. Am I right, Tam? Yeah?
It backfired because there's a limit to the hate speech and anti-everything, and of course, embracing the Nazi language and idioms. And in a way, we are in a relatively peaceful time. No terror and no wars, thank God. And this is the time that the main questions to be asked are economical and social. So this hate, Nazi talk it did indeed backfired against the right, against its creators.
Yeah.
I think this election campaign, continued a process we've been seeing in the past few months since Operation Protective Edge, and maybe even since before, but escalating rhetoric between left and right, and a very big, harsh divide between left and right. And both sides have used very bad meanings, and it did expose some of the frictions and some of the big problems in the Israeli society that are not going to go away after the
And
elections.
on the internet, it's much worse, of course.
Definitely, because it's an open stage. Anyone can say whatever he wants.
Yeah, so basically it is some people's opinion, what we just saw. So we shouldn't be so surprised by it after all.
And yet we're still surprised. Many people are still in shock that Rabin was assassinated in 95. And we are in a new reality in Israel. But we're still surprised to find these escalating idioms and proper Nazi Der Stürmer language.
We saw Naftali Bennett from the same political side try to pull centric voters by being funny and cute. Did that work for him?
Yeah, I think it worked for him to a limit. The 3 first weeks of the campaign, the 3 first weeks of December, Naftali Melech was the king. Thanks to this video, the hipster Naftali Bennett No Apologies video, he made him the king. But it didn't, at the end of the day, the video alone and just him being a great actor is not enough. And we did see him losing and actually now bleeding votes in the polls because he can be cool, he can be a great actor, but that's not enough apparently to bring back the voters. And also he had some campaign mistakes, which this couldn't make up for.
We're going to talk about the mistakes shortly, because in every campaign, mistakes are made and paid for. Perhaps the worst blunder of the these elections belong to Netanyahu, who starred in a very viral video that wraps together unionized public workers and Hamas terrorists. Check it out.
שלום, קוראים לי שייקה, ואני כאן בגלל ביבי.
רואים אותך שייקה.
אני ראש מחלקת תה בנמל. הייתי עובד 3 שעות בשבוע, והמשכורת, 50-60 אלף לפני בונוסים, עד שהגיעה הרפורמה. פתאום היינו צריכים להתחיל לעבוד, לתת שירות לציבור, זה נורא.
רואים אותך שייקה.
שלום, אני רבקי, ואני פה בגלל ביבי. מה אנחנו נגיד? עובדי הגבייה של רשות השידור? ממי נגבה עכשיו סתם כסף?
לפני ביבי הייתה לי חברת סלולר. לקחנו מהישראלים כמה כסף שרק רצינו. ואז הגיע ביבי. גמר אותנו, גמר. אפילו הייתי צריך למכור את הטיגריס הלבן שלי. פוקי. אנחנו אוהבים אותך, פוקי.
היי, מרחבה. אני מוסטפא אבו לוטי מחמאס עזה. אני בו בגלל ביבי.
אוהבים אותך, מוסטפא.
אתם אומרים, רק לא ביבי. אבל כולם יודעים שרק ממשלה חזקה ויציבה בראשותי גם תמשיך את ההישגים.
Yeah, okay, but did it really hurt Netanyahu? I mean, he apologized and said he didn't know exactly what's being filmed. Can he be believed, Yuda?
Prime Minister Netanyahu didn't know that what is going to be on this clip when he actually finishes it. Do you believe it?
I'm asking you.
No, it is not to believe. But he apologized, which is something, because Naftali Bennett, that we talk about this mantra, does not apologize. And it was a bad move by the Likud, and they pulled it off, I think, very quickly.
And do you think it hurt him?
Well, I just think, what was he thinking? What was the campaign people thinking? We're talking about he got involved with probably the most senior journalists, some of the most senior journalists in Israel 2 weeks before the campaign is over. And we're talking about journalists that work for the Israeli broadcast associations. So they're not very left-wing. They're not someone that Netanyahu can declare his media enemy, as he calls other media outlets in Israel. So what were you thinking? And I did think, in a way, it did fire back during the interviews that he had been given in the past few days. Some of the journalists from the IBA, from the Israeli Broadcast Association, definitely gave him his payback time.
Indeed, but let's talk more generally. Meretz, for example, the very left-wing party, they started with a weird campaign of them dancing and celebrating.
Traditional Meretz attitude, like we are flower children, and
Well,
tomorrow will be nice, and we will all have
They
a
had
party.
to fire their campaign strategist after this video and restart their whole campaign. Let's talk generally now. A bad video, how much damage can it do to a campaign?
It can, I don't know, because it is the first viral campaign that we're experiencing. So we will be much cleverer tomorrow. And in a way, almost every day, you can fix what was wrong yesterday. In a way. So I'm not sure how actually bad it can be. But there were some very bad moves by Meretz.
By almost everyone. Do you think that people have a short-term memory, especially when it comes to the web and campaigns?
I definitely think so. I also think that a bad viral movie or a bad viral video can definitely still create the buzz.
Yep.
And that's the question. If someone succeeds, he has a bad video. Netanyahu could have some bad video or some bad campaign moves, but still he dictated the agenda because that was the talk of the town. That was the talk of the social media. That's also one of the components. But again, it's the first time we're dealing with this mass of viral videos. It's probably scholars will be able to have dozens of theories about it, and we'll wait and see.
And on the other side, Center Party Yesh Atid, Yair Lapid, decided not to do any viral campaign. All he did was do groundwork from city to city. So maybe campaigns on the web are a bit overrated after all.
Not sure. First of all, Yair Lapid himself is viral. He was the presenter of a bank, and he was the anchorman for Channel 2 for many years. And he made some bad moves during the confrontation in Channel 2. So maybe what was working for him isn't actually right for the others. Bennett succeeded through his brother, Bennett, succeeded a lot through his viral videos.
You'd think that if you're not on the web, you do not exist, but that just isn't true.
I think it is true. If you're not on the web, you do not exist. Lapid he did exist on the web, but he just put much more efforts into doing the real grassroots work on the ground and meeting with people. Will it pay back? It will pay back for Lapid. He will be granted some benefits. I predict he will be granted some benefits. It's important. You cannot give up the real people to people. But I think especially when you're speaking about the young voters, the younger voters, the best way.
They need the web.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's it. Thank you very much, Tal. Thank you very much, Yehuda. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with a brand new show of the Tube. And always remember, time flies like an arrow, flute flies like a banana. Goodbye.